If you really don't like your job or just find it tedious, I just found quite possibly the perfect game for you. In Job Simulator, you can hop into surprisingly fun versions of grunt level jobs like mechanic or office worker. Yes, it's a simulation, but it's also a game, so it's time to review this title like I review all games on this channel, breaking them down into 6 categories and giving each category a score out of 6. Stick around because the overall score at the end will give you the just enjoy it perspective. That said, let's get right into it, starting with the mechanics. Now, this game takes somewhat of a sandbox approach to each job. This isn't a true sandbox game, but you have similar levels of freedom when it comes to completing tasks within a job. For example, as a mechanic, each car comes in with a specific service in mind, but you're not limited to any one approach. You can experiment. Grab something and throw it in if you think it'll fit. Speaking of grabbing, things may not always look natural in your hands, but they feel natural and comfortable to hold. Even if your grip doesn't match up perfectly to an object, you feel very much in control of whatever you're doing. Some tasks are definitely more complicated than others, but this game is designed very well in the sense that everything is relatively intuitive. If you work in the kitchen and someone orders a sandwich, we all know what a sandwich is. There are many different kinds of sandwich, but the beauty in this game is that if you have the ingredients, you can make whatever kind of sandwich comes to mind if the customer doesn't care. It's impressive how the developers managed to keep this game common sense friendly when you can do so much in each job. This category gets a 5 out of 6 because it's not easy to design a game this fun, complicated, and full of tutorials that don't actually feel like tutorials. I'll tell you what is easy though, smashing the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and while you're down there you should hit subscribe so you don't miss out on future VR content. Once you do that and complete a certain number of tasks at your day job, you unlock the night shift. That's pretty immersive, so let's talk about that in the next category, Immersion. First off, let me just say this game is without a doubt the most immersive cartoony VR title I've ever played. You're a human in a world where robots replaced humans in these jobs, and it really does feel like it. Slap in a comedic overtone and you have a game that is as funny as it is immersive. Night Shift brings its own uniqueness to the game in a way that is very relatable. The jobs are the same, but the atmosphere and the customers you encounter are completely different. In reality, the customers you get during the day are nothing like the oddballs that show up at night, and that's very well reflected here. Other than that, like I mentioned earlier, the tasks here are all intuitive and require almost the same amount of thought as real life. I say almost because in reality, your boss expects you to ask clarifying questions when the customer's request isn't clear, but there's none of that here. They get what you give them. That said, Immersion gets a 5 out of 6. From a pure immersion perspective, this game is pretty up there. You feel like you're actually an employee in these jobs, or at least as much as an employee as you can feel, while being aware you're just in a simulation. And with that, let's move on to visual quality, but it's important to understand something first. These categories are designed to give you a deeper look at one particular aspect of the game. The visual style in a game like Job Simulator is completely different from a game like Bone Lab, and the overall score at the end applies that common sense, while these categories just take what I get at face value. All that's to say, the scale is the scale regardless of how you or I feel about it, and I wrote the thing. While the texture quality in this game is minimal, the use of colors and object placements gives this game a sense of being full and alive. Unfortunately, this category gets a score of 1 out of 6, but personally, I love this game's visual style and I wouldn't change a thing. The use of colors and shadows is done extremely well here. Now let's move on to a category that looks good when nitpicked, the theme. The developers did a great job taking the concept of a job and turning it on its head. We're talking about levels of realism that are undeniable despite the fact you're living it through cartoony graphics in a VR headset. Theme is implemented in a way that's so far removed from reality, yet it hits all the right notes. You feel like you're at work, but you actually enjoy it, and the key is the lack of responsibility attached to your actions. This game even has the best version of your boss, insulting you so subtly, you might not even realize you're being insulted. Other than that, they really lean into the whole work thing here. From the coffee mugs to the motivational posters that seem to have given up on motivation altogether. On the off chance you find something that isn't branded with something related to work, rest assured there's probably a funny joke there. This category has earned a perfect 6 out of 6. Turning something as agonizing as work into a fun game while maintaining a level of realism unexpected from something this cartoony is a feat worthy of a perfect mark. Now let's move on to motion aids. This might not be the first thing crossing your mind when you think about the thrills of virtual reality, but you can't really enjoy a game if it constantly makes you sick. That said, this game doesn't have many motion aids, but it doesn't really need them. There are no flashy aids here like teleporting around the office, but what Job Simulator lacks in movement, it makes up for in practicality. One thing that really stands out is the beautifully simple option design. There's no menu here, just a single switch to toggle between playing standing or seated. You also have a toggle knob to enable and change the language of subtitles. It's really cool how they're implemented within each level. You have to look for them, but even that is a fun game in itself. Motion Aids gets a 5 out of 6. It has all the aids you would need for a game like this, and they all work perfectly. Through no fault of their own, I spent an embarrassing amount of time looking for an options menu, but once I learned there wasn't one, everything just sort of fell into place. That said, the next category up for analysis is audio quality, and it adds so much to the experience. First off, let's talk about dialogue. If there's one thing that can turn a mundane task like filing reports or cooking moldy slabs of steak into a comedic adventure, it's the witty banter and unexpected quips from your bot customers and fellow bot coworkers.
Yes, bonjour. Today I brought you a very rare steak. It is a 1984 vintage, eh? I wish to have it prepared.
I'm not the easiest person to make laugh, but Job Simulator cracked that code, delivering lines that had me chuckling more than once.
So let's take real good care of them by sabotaging their car and making them come back later for more work.
The banter isn't the only quality piece of audio here though. The ambient sounds play a notable role in bringing the audio in this game together. It's all done very well too, from the sizzle of bacon on the grill to the oddly satisfying sound that plays when you complete a task. This game has earned yet another perfect score, 6 out of 6 in the audio quality category. There was no part of the intended audio experience here that I felt was off-key, and it was all very well put together. And now with all 6 nitpicked categories out of the way, it's time to look at this game from a just try to enjoy it perspective. Job Simulator is definitely a standout title in VR. It's a game that transforms the typical dull or exhausting job into a truly enjoyable experience. In my book, this game is a must play for anyone who has a VR headset. I'd go as far as to say this would be a great first VR game if you've never played VR before. If that's you, welcome to the world of VR, buy this game. This title has earned an impressive overall score of 5 out of 6. Job Simulator's visuals may have scored low, but that score does not hold this game back. The title's ability to blend humor, immersion, and intuitive gameplay into a cohesive experience is far beyond my expectations, and I can't believe I didn't try this game sooner. And with that said, as usual, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you found value in it. New reviews are coming your way weekly. Subscribe so you don't miss out on future VR content, and until next time, stay immersed.